You are welcome to this lesson. We ended by talking quite many words about something that I hope you recall very well. We want to start off with the activity, getting solutions to the activity, then we shall propel forward. So let's start. Corrections to activity 22. I hope you wrote the corrections, the answers, and now you're having self-check. First question, write 2 ways the British benefited from indirect rule. There are quite many ways that we want to discuss here. They are basically 4. That is, control rebellions, solve the problem of language difficulties, solve the problem of few British administrators, then control blame. I've underlined some basic words there. There is a word there, rebellions, a word language or language difficulties, a word administrators or British administrators, then the word blame. Those are basic words that will help us in the future discussing other aspects. Just like in the next question. Let's see question 2. How did the British benefit from indirect rule? When we get to the idea of understanding question handling techniques, we shall discover many techniques about this. Like in this setting, all those 2 questions are having the same. What do they address? Both are addressing ways indirect rule was beneficial to the British. So the answers to question A perfectly fit in solutions to question 2. So they are the same as those ones there. So question 3, what was assimilation policy? We had 3 forms or 3 sources of understanding assimilation policy. One is the total transformation of Africans by culture into French way of life. 2, we said, was a policy that involved changing Africans to behave like the French. And 3, it was a colonial system of administration that involved making Africans adapt French lifestyle or French way of life. Number 4, in which way did assimilation policy affect the people of West Africa? There are many ways. It undermined African culture. Africans were deprived of their identity. It brought hatred between Africans and the French. It led to loss of lives among Africans. It led to exploitation of Africa's resources. Led to loss of African respect and dignity. Led to destruction of African social, economic, and political systems. It was expensive for the French to implement. Led to imprisonment, torture, mistreatment of some Africans. State 2 ways in which colonies were acquired. Remember we said colonial acquisition is very different from colonial administration. So master that very well. Here is colonies were acquired or colonies were got. We said many things. I hope you recall them. 1, through signing treaties, through collaborators, through missionary work, through military force, through trade companies, or through trading companies. Then the other aspect is how colonies were administered or how colonies were ruled. How were they ruled? We talked of 3 major issues. 1, indirect rule, mainly used by the British. 2, direct rule. And 3, assimilation policy. Give 2 ways the Akidas and Jumbes were helpful to German colonial masters in Tanganyika. 1, they ruled on behalf of German colonies. 2, they collected tax on behalf of German colonies. And 3, they fought against resisting communities or resistors on behalf of German colonists. So our lesson today, we want to understand effects of colonial rule in Africa. Effects of colonial rule in Africa. So what were these effects? And before we talk of what the effects were, we want to understand or comprehend the word effects. When you hear me say effects, if you hear someone talk about the word effects, which other words can you think of to have the same meaning as effects? I've come up with 4 basic words that have equal meaning as the word effects. And I want to beg that when you find those words, just feel like they are effects. When you see the word effects, have those words also reflected in your understanding. Word 1, results. So the word effects has the same force, same meaning, same aspect as results. Also, outcomes. Another word is consequences, and the last one here is end results. So if we say, what were the end results? We're meaning, what were the effects? What were the results? We're meaning effects. What were the consequences? We're meaning effects. Equally, outcomes mean effects. Please perceive it from the onset that when we talk of effects, they can be positive or the good things, and then negative or the bad things. So whatever the colonies did to us equally had two end results, had two consequences. Consequences that were positive and the consequences that were negative. So let's carry on and we see there were economic consequences or results or effects. We also had social effects or social results. We equally had political results. So we shall handle each of these at a time. Let's begin with the economic. So we want to talk about the economic effects. 1, they introduced new crops. That these colonies here introduced new crops. Prior, we saw the new crops that were introduced by the colonies, like cotton. It was introduced by colonies. So we thank them for that and say, yes, the coming of colonies led to introduction of new crops in Africa. Also, they built processing industries. We never had these processing industries. So we thank them for introducing processing industries. They constructed roads to ease transport. The roads that these people constructed made transport easy, or made transportation of goods easy. So it qualifies as an economic answer because the transport in here is referring to transportation of goods. Equally, improved communication network that widened market for goods. Same as market for goods was widened through improved communication. Also, legitimate trade was introduced. All these are appearing good or positive. But like I said earlier on, we could have positive or negative. Let's see this. Tax. Through this introduced taxation. Was this good for us? I don't know. But let me paint it this way. The tax that this introduced made us become poor. We were paying money to make the administration easy. Yet they were administering. So this tax in this form, I think it was a bad aspect at that time. Labor was also something that was introduced by these people. They introduced forced labor. But this forced labor was what was attached to it was little pay or no pay at all. In some communities, some people would be whipped as a form of payment. I don't know if I shall grade that as being good. It led to land grabbing. These people grabbed our land. Colonists grabbed our land. To make it worse, they would only target the fertile land. The barren land, they wouldn't bother about that. But the fertile land, they would grab it and actually take it. Then also, these people want also to see another aspect, that is resources. What are the resources? Colonists often took our resources to their countries or their communities for their own benefit. So we're saying Africa lost resources because of colonial rule, and that was actually a bad aspect. Let's carry on from there and attack social. But before that, let's, based on these two, clearly understand these effects, the good ones and the bad ones, to shield against questions such as, in which two ways did colonies affect Africa's economy negatively? We indicate the negative issues. How did they impact on Africa's economy positively? We now indicate the positive aspects. So let's proceed to see the social issues. Social. We're addressing social effects for colonial rule or for the coming of colonies. One is they stopped slave trade. We say, yes, thank you for coming, colonists. We were suffering with these slave traders with all the negative issues or all the odds of slave trade. So their coming led to the end or stopping of slave trade, and say, thank you, that's a positive outcome. They promoted Christianity in Africa, that is social. In Africa, we had our own religions, but we also said the first foreign religion to come to Africa was Islam. So the coming of colonists also introduced Christianity. So we're saying they introduced or promoted Christianity. They introduced new languages. Based on their origin, some countries today in Africa are francophone countries, meaning they speak French as their official language. Such countries were colonized by the French. Some speak English, and we call them Anglophone countries. So it's true that they introduced new languages. They promoted formal education. We never had formal education here. We had our informal education. Remember our P5 class, we discussed many things about formal education against informal education. Similarities, differences. Recall that. Then they built health service centers like clinics, hospitals that we brag with up to now. They were introduced by these people here, the colonialists. They linked Africa to outside world. And last year I was saying they introduced Western medicine. The medicine we had in Africa then, before or prior to the coming of colonists, was not from the Western world, was not heavily processed medicine, was not industrially processed medicine. We would just pick from the bush, we would process slightly, then we would consume. So those are some of the social aspects. Let's look at the other social aspects. Loss of lives. There were loss of lives, especially through wars. The wars between the black people and whites led to loss of lives. Also, we want to see another issue here. The issue is segregation. Colonialists led to segregation. Actually, I would call it racial segregation. Segregating based on race. That the whites were given different or better treatment as opposed to the black people. So we attach this racial segregation to the whites and say, whites or colonists, you introduced racial segregation. So children, once again, remember to go through this and you clearly see which was good for us, which was bad. What was bad, we shall call it negative, and what was good, we shall call it positive. So let's carry on. Political outcomes or political effects. Political effects included the introduced methods of administration. Here we had our own ways of administration. We never had issues attached so much to democracy, what we call the modern democracy, the voting, electing. We were more of hereditary, but this changed our way of life in terms of colonial and in terms of administration. Then fixing boundaries. We were somehow lax in terms of boundaries, but the coming of colonists ended up in fixing of boundaries and coming off with particular countries like Uganda. Never had boundaries that it has today, Kenya and all those others. Africans lost political independence. The coming of colonists here does not mean that we never had political arrangements and political organization. True, we were politically organized in our style that was so nice, but their coming made us lose our prestigious, our cherished political norms, and we adopted theirs. African kings and chiefs lost political fame. They lost political prestige. They lost political control. They lost trust. Remember, many of our political leaders were flogged in front of their subjects. Would we again have prestige for them? Would we again have trust in them? We actually lowered esteem for them, and we are saying, colonists, you made our politicians who were cherished then lose fame, prestige, control, and trust. Boundaries led to separation of tribes. There is a time we talked about the Samia. The Samia are both in Kenya and in Uganda. So the same Samia are the Samia of Kenya and the same as Samia of Uganda. I think that separation is not good. The same applies to the Maasai. Introduced foreign laws. We had our own laws that we're cherishing here, that were helping us to address our own local issues. But the coming of colonists made them introduce foreign laws that were harsh to us, that were not good for us. So children, remember that after completing this, we shall be driving towards one other thing, and that is nothing other than understanding the next subtopic, and will be the last subtopic in this topic. The last subtopic is settlers in Africa. And settlers in Africa, we shall address very few things, which are nice things. I want to call upon you, read ahead of us, so that by the time we get to talk about settlers, you are there. About settlers, read settlers in Kenya, settlers in South Africa. In South Africa, read about the Boers or the Dutch. Then also read about apartheid policy. I know in your pieces class and other areas, you have heard people talk about apartheid policy. So we shall meet again when we're discussing settlers in Africa, apartheid policy, the Boers. Bye for now. I love you.